Newcastle have missed out on Zadok Johanna, but they've found an exciting replacement. So from discussing who he is, to revealing the details behind Newcastle's heated talks on a free transfer signing, we'll also uncover the latest developments regarding Palestra's potential move to Newcastle. As per, join us as we'll break it all down and discuss the latest Newcastle United transfer news.
Let's go!
So starting off, Newcastle United have missed out on highly rated AIK winger Zadok Johanna after Brighton officially completed a deal for the Nigerian teenager. The 18-year-old had emerged as a genuine target for Newcastle in recent weeks, with reports from Sweden suggesting the Magpies had tabled an offer worth around £20.7 million. While local journalists later played down claims that a formal bid had been submitted, Newcastle's interest was very real, and discussions had taken place regarding a potential move to St James's Park. Despite Newcastle's efforts, Brighton have ultimately won the race. The Seagulls confirmed Johanna's arrival on Saturday, securing the winger from AIK Stockholm in a deal believed to be worth around £21.5 million. The teenager has signed a 5-year contract on the South Coast and becomes the latest exciting young talent to join Brighton's increasingly impressive recruitment model. In a message that will not have gone down well on Tyneside, Johanna appeared to dismiss the speculation surrounding Newcastle's interest during his unveiling, stating, "Ignore the noise, it was always Brighton."
Take a look.
Ignore the noise, it was always Brighton. My name is Zadok Johanna. I have arrived.
That comment suggests the player's mind may have been made up long before the transfer was finalized. Brighton had reportedly agreed personal terms with Johanna well before Newcastle entered the picture, giving them a significant advantage throughout negotiations. While Newcastle may have been capable of matching or even exceeding Brighton financially, convincing the player to change course proved to be a different challenge altogether. From Brighton's perspective, the deal is another example of why they remain one of the most respected clubs in Europe when it comes to identifying and developing young talent. Their track record provides a clear pathway to first-team football, something that likely played a major role in Johanna's decision. For Newcastle, attention must now quickly turn elsewhere. The club's pursuit of Johanna highlighted a growing desire to invest in elite young prospects before their value explodes, but his arrival would never have solved the immediate problem left behind by Anthony Gordon's departure to Barcelona. Newcastle still require a proven attacking addition capable of making an impact straight away, with Osasuna winger Victor Munoz continuing to be heavily linked as a potential replacement. However, Johanna's position on the right wing also shines a light on another issue within Eddie Howe's squad. Anthony Elanga and Jacob Murphy endured difficult campaigns last season, managing just 4 goals between them, and there is a growing feeling that Newcastle may need reinforcements on both flanks, rather than simply replacing Gordon on the left. While missing out on Johanna is disappointing given his enormous potential, Newcastle's summer plans will not be derailed by one failed pursuit. The club still need goalkeepers, full-back cover and attacking reinforcements, meaning there is likely to be plenty more movement before the transfer window closes. For now though, Brighton have once again beaten Newcastle to one of Europe's most exciting young talents, and the Magpies must move on to the next name on their shortlist. However, in another development, Newcastle United have reportedly stepped up their search for an Anthony Gordon replacement by opening talks with FC Köln over highly rated teenager Said El Mala. Following Gordon's £70 million move to Barcelona, finding a new attacking threat has become one of Newcastle's biggest priorities this summer. Eddie Howe is looking to reshape his forward line, and according to reports, El Mala has emerged as one of the club's leading targets. The 19-year-old enjoyed a breakthrough campaign in the Bundesliga, registering 13 goals and 4 assists, despite making only 20 starts. Those numbers have quickly established him as one of Germany's most exciting young attacking prospects and attracted interest from several clubs across Europe. Brentford were among the first to make a serious move, reportedly submitting a bid worth around €45 million, plus €5 million in add-ons. However, despite the significant offer, El Mala is understood to have no interest in joining the London club, creating an opportunity for Newcastle to enter the race. Talks have now reportedly begun between Newcastle and Köln, as the Magpies explore the conditions required to complete a deal. The club are also hoping to secure permission to discuss personal terms with the player. One complication involves El Mala's representation. Unlike most players, his parents are heavily involved in negotiations and are believed to be pushing for any interested club to also sign his older brother, Malik El-Mala, who currently plays for Cologne as well. Whether Newcastle would be willing to accommodate that request remains unclear. What makes this pursuit particularly interesting is that Newcastle already know the level of offer required to tempt Cologne into negotiations. Brentford's proposal effectively established a benchmark, giving Ross Wilson and the recruitment team a clearer picture of what it will take to secure the teenager's signature. From a football perspective, El-Mala certainly appears to fit Newcastle's profile. He is young, highly rated, versatile, and already producing impressive numbers at a high level. Capable of operating on the left wing or through the middle, he would offer Howe valuable tactical flexibility following Gordon's departure. The comparison with Victor Munoz is also becoming increasingly relevant. Newcastle continue to be linked with the Osasuna winger, but El-Mala's statistical output is significantly stronger. While Munoz managed 6 goals and 2 assists in La Liga last season, El-Mala contributed 17 goal involvements in the Bundesliga and consistently looked like a decisive attacking presence. His expected goals numbers, chance creation and finishing record all suggest he could arrive with a greater capacity to impact games immediately, despite being only 19 years old. Of course, statistics never tell the entire story. La Liga and Bundesliga present different challenges, and Munoz has already shown he can perform in one of Europe's top leagues. However, there is no denying that El-Mala's production stands out, particularly for a player of his age. For Newcastle, the attraction is obvious. After missing out on Zadok Johanna to Brighton, the club remained determined to add elite young talent capable of becoming a cornerstone of the project for years to come. El-Mala appears to fit that description perfectly. The challenge now is whether Newcastle can convince both Cologne and the players' representatives that St James Park is the best destination for the next stage of his development. With Gordon's departure leaving a major void in Howe's attack, this is one transfer saga that could gather pace very quickly over the coming weeks. Based on his performances last season, Saad El-Mala looks like exactly the type of high-upside signing Newcastle have been searching for. Then moving on, Newcastle United have reportedly been handed a potential opportunity to sign Juventus striker Dusan Vlahovic, although a deal remains far from straightforward. The Serbian forward is entering the final weeks of his contract in Turin, with negotiations over a new deal reaching a critical stage. According to reports in Italy, one final meeting is expected to take place between Juventus and Vlahovic's father Milos, in what has been described as a do-or-die discussion regarding the striker's future. Despite speculation surrounding an exit, Vlahovic's preference is believed to be staying with Juventus. However, there remains a significant gap between the two parties financially. The 26-year-old is reportedly seeking a salary of around €8 million per season, while Juventus are unwilling to go beyond €6 million. As a result, the chances of an agreement being reached appear increasingly slim. That uncertainty has alerted several clubs across Europe, with Newcastle and Chelsea both said to be monitoring the situation closely. Reports claim Vlahovic's father has already held conversations with interested clubs, including both Premier League sides, as preparations continue for a potential departure. From Newcastle's perspective, the situation is intriguing. The club's striker plans have been the subject of debate all summer. While recent reports suggest Eddie Howe is content, opportunities to sign a proven goalscorer of Vlahovic's caliber do not arise often. The former Fiorentina star enjoyed a strong finish to last season after returning from injury, scoring 4 goals in his final 5 league appearances. Even during a difficult spell for Juventus, he continued to produce respectable numbers whenever fit. There are, however, several obvious concerns. The biggest is financial. While Vlahovic may be available for a reduced fee due to his contract situation, his wage demands would likely place him among Newcastle's highest earners. Agent commissions would also be substantial, making the overall package far more expensive than the transfer fee alone suggests. Although his availability as a free agent could make him an attractive prospect for the Magpies, with the lack of European football next term not thought to be an issue. The biggest stumbling block will be his wage demands, as the 26-year-old is said to want at least £150,000 per week upon any transfer this summer. His recent injury record is another factor Newcastle would need to examine carefully. The striker has missed significant periods over the last 2 seasons, and given the club's cautious approach to recruitment under the current ownership, that could be a major red flag. There is also the question of competition. Newcastle cannot offer European football next season, which weakens their position compared to clubs such as Bayern Munich or Barcelona. While Juventus themselves have missed out on the Champions League, they will still participate in the Europa League, and other suitors can offer Vlahovic a bigger stage immediately. That reality means Newcastle may struggle to convince the striker if multiple elite clubs enter the race. From a footballing perspective, though, Vlahovic would undoubtedly improve Howe's attacking options. At 26, he is entering his prime years and possesses the physicality, movement and finishing ability required to thrive in the Premier League. Vlahovic's lack of Premier League experience could also be a concern to the hierarchy, which could see other targets being explored as the transfer window develops. The question is whether Newcastle view the overall risk as worthwhile. Given the wages involved, the injury concerns and the absence of European football, this feels more like an opportunistic market situation than a transfer Newcastle are actively prioritizing. For now, everything hinges on the upcoming meeting between Juventus and Vlahovic's representatives. If no agreement is reached, the striker's exit could become inevitable, and Newcastle will be among the clubs watching developments very closely. Then, Newcastle United's pursuit of Atalanta right-back Marco Palestra appears to have become increasingly complicated, despite fresh reports suggesting the Magpies remain firmly in the race. The 21-year-old Italian has emerged as one of the most sought-after young fullbacks in Europe following an impressive breakthrough campaign, and Newcastle are understood to view him as a potential long-term solution following the departures of Kieran Trippier and Emil Kraft. With Tino Livramento currently the only recognized senior right-back in Eddie Howe's squad, strengthening that position remains one of the club's biggest priorities this summer. Inter Milan looked to have moved into pole position earlier this week after submitting a substantial offer for Palestra. However, according to Corriere dello Sport, Atalanta rejected the proposal despite it reportedly being worth €40 million, plus a further €5 million in add-ons. The Serie A side are said to be standing firm on a valuation of around €50 million, £43 million, with Fabrizio Romano also reporting that Atalanta have made it clear negotiations will begin from that figure. While talks between Inter and Atalanta are ongoing, the rejection of that opening bid has left the door open for other interested clubs to enter the race. Newcastle are believed to be among those monitoring the situation closely, and have reportedly indicated a willingness to meet Atalanta's financial demands if they decide to move forward with a formal offer. That should, in theory, place the Magpies in a strong position. The problem, however, may not be convincing Atalanta. According to the same reports, Palestra himself would prefer a move to either Inter Milan or Manchester City, should those opportunities materialize. Both clubs can offer Champions League football and are generally viewed as operating at the very highest level of European competition. Newcastle's failure to qualify for Europe this season inevitably weakens their position when competing against clubs of that stature. The report even suggests the player views Newcastle as a less attractive sporting destination compared to some of his other options, which could ultimately prove decisive regardless of how much Newcastle are willing to pay. That creates a difficult dilemma for Ross Wilson and Newcastle's recruitment team. There is little point committing significant time and resources to a transfer if the player's preference clearly lies elsewhere. Newcastle have been caught in similar situations before, pursuing targets who ultimately chose clubs offering Champions League football or a more established European pedigree. With several key positions still requiring reinforcement, efficiency will be crucial this summer. Palestra undoubtedly fits the profile Newcastle are targeting. He is young, highly rated, already performing at a strong level, and has considerable room for further development. From a footballing perspective, he appears almost tailor-made for the club's recruitment model. Whether he feels the same way is another matter entirely. For now, Newcastle remain in the conversation, but the strongest indications suggest they are facing an uphill battle to convince the player that St. James's Park is the right destination. Unless that stance changes, the Magpies may ultimately be forced to turn their attention towards more attainable targets as they continue their search for a new right back.